Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the May 18th meeting of the Sutter Creek City Council. Clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Feist,
Here.
Councilmember Reardon,
Here.
Councilmember Swift, Vice Mayor Cirque,
Here.
Mayor Gunselman.
Here.
We have quorum.
Can you all please join me for the pledge? At this time, I'll open the public forum. The public is permitted to address the City Council on items not appearing on the agenda. Comments may not exceed 5 minutes. In accordance with state law, however, no action or discussion may take place on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. Would anyone care to address the council on an item not on tonight's agenda? Yes. It's recorded, so people on Zoom can hear you, and just state your name.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There we go.
All right. My name's Ron Hauk, and I'm a resident here in Sutter Creek. Been here for 10 years with my lovely wife. We built a home here. What I have here, I want to pass out to the council. I have a report. It's called Cannabis and Psychosis Changes After Legalization. And this is written by Professor Sykes from the Yale School of Medicine. And so I want to talk about that for a minute. And when I'm done, I'll pass out a copy. You all can have a copy of this. The findings of this study was done in Connecticut. And it was a study in this community, kind of like ours. And in this community, it was found that cannabis use became more severe after legalization in the community. So the severity of cannabis use increased after the legalization. More people for the first time needed mental help, professional mental help for treating psychosis, for treating schizophrenia, and those types of disorders. So that's the first thing that they discovered in this study. So basically, cannabis use became more severe after legalization. Secondly, daily cannabis use, after legalization became more common, resulting in more problems with psychosis and schizophrenia in the community. Third, despite Connecticut's legal age of 21, the severity of schizophrenia and psychosis even increased in those under the age of 21, even though they couldn't get it. But they got it anyway. That's kind of the way it goes. The other thing they discovered is that there's more responsibility in the community. They were responsible for monitoring and surveying the cannabis users in the community. And this costs money and this costs time. So again, money for monitoring and surveillance of cannabis users in the community. Also, they required more screening of those already at high risk of psychosis or schizophrenia. So more screening time, basically they needed to do more screening of those in the community. And that cost more money and more time. It also required more education for adolescents and families in the community to deal with this type of problem. So again, more money, again, and this had to do with educating the adolescents in the community. So in essence, it leads to more crime. It leads to more erratic behavior, more people being high in the community, and in essence, more psychosis, more mayhem, more responsibilities, more crime, and more education in monitoring the problem. Also, adolescent behavior became worse for those under 21. So my questions are this. Do you want more psychotic problems and behavior to deal with in our community? Do you want that? Are you willing to pay more for monitoring and surveillance of psychosis or erratic behavior in this community? Are you willing to do that, to pay for that, or for more money at that? Are you willing to have more young adolescents under the age strung out or high on marijuana? Because that's what's going to happen. That's what happened in this town, in this community of Connecticut, by this person that I'm going to pass out her biography as well. I love this community. I love Sutter Creek. In fact, my wife and I always refer to it as a piece of paradise. It's, after all, the jewel of the mother lode, right? So, okay, so I urge you to not bring into this town and this community this dispensary. Because if you do, the consequences will be on you. The consequences will be on you and on your shoulders. Okay, I'm going to bring my wife up here, and she's going to finish up. So thank you for your time.
Hello,
Thank you.
my name is Suzanne Hauk, and Julia Sirk coached my son swimming in 1993. I just had to mention that, Julia.
Thanks.
I love Julia.
Hopefully, a good memory.
I do. I live in Sutter Creek along with my husband, Ron Hauk, who just spoke. 6 years ago, we invited our youngest son to come home and live with us while he worked on getting his life on a good track. One of our conditions for living with us was that there would be no drug use of any kind in or out of our home. During the 8 long months that he lived with us, we endured a constant barrage of angry, disrespectful verbal attacks, assaultive behavior, and very combative conduct. We feared him in our own home. After living with us for 8 months, we came upon drug paraphernalia on our back deck and realized he had been vaping liquid THC in a bong the entire time he'd been staying with us. He did a very good job at concealing his use. We confronted him. He denied it, but we had the proof. We decided he needed to leave, and a great fight ensued between him and my husband. He would not leave. He was in an unstoppable rage. He was throwing things, including his computer screen. He was taunting my husband, trying to provoke him into physically fighting. It was horrible. I still get PTSD just thinking about that day. He did finally leave our property that day without us involving the police. When we looked at the progression of his terrible behavior and how it had escalated during the 8 months he was with us, we became convinced that his heavy use of vaping THC was the reason for his violent and erratic behavior. As my husband stated, we love our small community, and we love how safe it is, which was the top of our reasons for moving here 10 years ago and building our home. We've done a bit of research on what happens to small communities when dispensaries open shop. Some legitimate concerns that affect our community are: there are risks of increased impaired driving, especially among our youth, especially on our 2-lane rural roads. Normalizing cannabis THC use among our youth will heighten disciplinary issues in our schools and in public. Cannabis use disorder is a mental health condition characterized by the inability to control cannabis use despite the negative effects it has on your health. Did somebody just turn me down? I'm sorry if I'm too loud. Effects on your health, relationships, and responsibilities. It is a recognized substance use disorder. It's recognized that can range from mild to severe, which is commonly referred to as an addiction. Cannabis shops have been known to reduce our property values. People want to live here because of our safe and quiet rural climate. Sutter Creek should not have to say yes to what has been proven to be a bad idea in many small towns. And if you decide to move forward with this plan, the expected monetary gain for Sutter Creek will not be worth the many grave consequences that will befall our very special town that we call home. I vehemently oppose this dispensary opening up in Sutter Creek along with my husband and my friend Brenda. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Susan.
Hi, I'm Barbara Brusatori. I was born and raised here in Amador County, and I just want to thank you for this opportunity to express my,
Barbara, get in
the
mic a little bit.
do I have to? No. I appreciate the opportunity to come and express my concerns. This is in regards to the marijuana dispensary that you're considering. I know that the law states that no one underage can purchase this marijuana, but once it leaves the dispensary, who knows where it goes, right? Or where it ends up. How many of us here were provided alcohol to use as a teenager? Anybody besides me? As a teenager, right? We've all had that, And how many of those that were providing the alcohol were charged with contributing to a minor? I don't know of anyone who's been, accused and caught and disciplined for that way. I believe we have the same situation here. I'm not saying kids are gonna, not have any access, but I'm asking that we make it difficult and inconvenient for them to get it. And don't forget about peer pressure. People bring this in and then the kids just, are.
Excuse me, ma'am, can you speak closer to the microphone, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry. So I'm saying that let's don't make it easy for kids to get this marijuana, and let's make it inconvenient for them. And don't forget how powerful peer pressure is for kids to start something like that. So I would just appreciate when you're considering your vote on this, that you take this into consideration, and I would ask you to please vote no on that. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? I guess so. I'm Teresa Mulderry is my regular name. And let's see, my background is in education. I'm a retired teacher now. I've worked as a homeschool teacher. I've worked in a public school, and I've also worked in the Christian school as a principal. So I'm here because the youth of our community are very important to me. So that's why I felt really compelled when Michelle told me about this meeting to come and voice my opinion. Okay. All right. 6 teenagers were in the car celebrating the last day of school. Jim, chronic marijuana user, was euphoric as he remembered that this was the last day of school. No more pressure of getting to class on time, staying awake during class, or even leaving the house. He could first chill. He could find every day a chill day and smoke a joint. As they were driving along, one passenger in the car was college bound, and his girlfriend was a friend of Jim's. As the car sped on, she could realize that Jim, the driver, wasn't controlling the car very well as it veered into the next lane. Jim was a chronic marijuana user, and he had a few joints to celebrate around the next, and he had a few joints to celebrate. Around the next curve, Jim thought that he could pass, but he didn't see the oncoming car. His thinking was impaired. Ambulances rushed to the scene to help the mangled bodies of the teenagers and the grandmother and children in the car that was coming the other way. Now, this is a fictitious story, but it's like something that we see every day. We see it every day in the news where drugs can destroy lives. So, going to cite some different case studies about the use of marijuana. Okay, the short-term effects of marijuana related to brain function include things like altered states, altered sense of time, euphoria, mood changes, issues with thinking, problem solving, impaired memory, disorientation, relaxation, sleepiness, dizziness, issues with coordination, slowed reaction time, experiencing panic attacks. And if you consume marijuana in high doses, you may experience hallucinations, perceptions of objects or events that involve your senses, delusions, unshakable belief in something untrue, psychosis. The risk is highest if you regularly use high protein marijuana. And then common short-term effects are dry mouth, nausea, increased heart rate, and that's up to 3 hours after smoking, and increase in appetite. The long-term effects can affect how your brain builds connection with certain functions. And this is especially true for really young people going to school that might be taking marijuana, getting marijuana, and it affects how your brain builds connections with certain functions like attention, memory, and learning. And these different connections can last, these effects can last a long time and even be permanent. The blood vessels can get scarred. There's health issues with that. We know that it's bad.
30 seconds, ma'am.
Oh, I only have what?
You have 30 seconds, or actually 26 seconds now.
26 seconds? Oh, is this a 2-minute? I thought it was a 5-minute.
It is 5 minutes, ma'am. I'm
Really?
timing it.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I won't go through any more of those effects. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay. So, oh, and there is one more effect that I think is really important to know, that using marijuana
Time's up.
using marijuana for men that have wives that become pregnant, it changes their bodies and
Ma'am, excuse me,
gives
time
a
is up.
problem with that. So, okay, well, I guess I should have timed this, but anyway, can I say, please think about what you're doing and what you're saying and what you're voting on. And the main thing, more than anything else, is to think about, the future of our children and the future of
Ma'am.
where we are.
Time's up.
Okay. So, all right. And is the money more important than the lives of our youth?
Hey, my name is Stevens Price, and I'm a former owner of 2 businesses along Main Street in Sutter Creek, and I currently produce the historic Sutter Creek Ragtime Festival, and this August will be our 20th year anniversary for that festival. I do have some concerns as the marijuana dispensary in Sutter Creek could take place, knowing that the target demographic for this business would be probably the ages 15 to 30. May I share some personal experiences of my life? I'm a 67-year-old man who grew up in the 60s and 70s. I started smoking marijuana in my sophomore year of high school, and I also began smoking cigarettes at that time as well. My grades suffered, and I did graduate in 1976 with a C average, My mom even had me see a therapist during these years as I was not engaging and I was kind of just hanging around with my friends and was not didn't have much motivation, and she was very concerned. And of course, it didn't help that my dad was into drugs and he encouraged me. But I also believe that marijuana is a gateway drug to other drugs. For me, I did experiment with other drugs such as cocaine and mushrooms and acid on occasion. So thankfully, I never tried heroin, but it did prompt me to go to higher drugs. I have also lost two of my best friends in the last 10 years because of drugs and alcohol. I worked a year before I attended college for 7 years, and I continued my drug habits and partied very well in college where I studied music and drama. I met my future wife on stage in a musical, and because of her influence and my newfound faith in Christ, I was able to stop and step away from that lifestyle. That was in 1983. For 11 years, I was tied to marijuana. It's been over 40 years now since that break. But I know that my memory, my comprehension, and my memorization skills have been compromised by the drug use that I did. My lungs have recovered, but my head, my lost brain cells, they have not. But my brain has done workarounds to compensate, but it'll never be the same. And to think that they say now that the strength of the marijuana that's out there in the market now can be 10 times what it was when I was smoking and doing that. So drug use should not be something that is easily attainable in our city. If not being careful, I think the city could become like the parents of teenage kids who let them have parties and then supply the alcohol to the kids. This will only create bigger problems down the road. It will be easier to reject a business from starting than to eradicate it once it's been established. I realize some reasons for this venture is for the tax revenue from the sales. I get that. But Sutter Creek is also a tourist-based economy too. I'm proud that the Ragtime Festival brings tens of thousands of dollars into our local economy, which creates revenue and tax revenue every year. But let us not compromise the tourist impact with a modern dispensary on our city limits. Let us keep the charm and gold rush ambiance intact in Sutter Creek without a modern dispensary. Let us not tarnish the jewel of the mother lode, which is Sutter Creek. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Nelson. I am a resident of Sutter Creek. I've been here since 1988. Why I'm here tonight is not to cite a bunch of different studies, but I'm here to urge those of you that are even thinking of approving a plan for a dispensary to please reconsider the ramifications. I've read studies, I printed one. I mean, there's many studies out. You hear stories. Study after study has shown that cannabis use, either recreational or prolonged, it's associated with short and long-term brain function detrimental outcomes, especially during working memory tasks. That alone should raise an eyebrow and cause an alarm when you think about the effects. But also another effect, because that would be a medical effect, but criminal effect as well. Have you studied cities that have dispensaries? Hemet in Riverside County is a prime city to study. You drive down the highway coming into the town, it's all you see are dispensary signs. I don't know how many there are, but you talk to any of the city workers that work in the town, the parks, I mean, just the crime, the detrimental effects, the degradation that you see in and around a beautiful little town of Hemet. It's not a large town. So when I think about development, and I know, like Barbara had said, alcohol use among young children and young people, is prevalent. No, it's not legal, but to think that children and young adults don't have access to drugs is delusional. I mean, they will get, if a dispensary is around and they have a bent for wanting to try this or party, whatever, they will have access to it regardless if they are of age. So the way I see it, and it really concerns me, is that we're sacrificing our children and our young people's development on the altar of immediate tax revenue. And I really hope that you think about that, because that to me is the crux. You know, we're here to get revenue, but at what cost? Stevens, anyone that's going to talk will tell you, you know, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you ask for. Thank you.
Anybody else for an item not on tonight's agenda?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Justin Howard, Gopher Flat. Just wanted to state on the record my support and willingness to aid both city staff and council for planning when it comes to the placement of speed tables or cushions on Gopher Flat Road as a major concern for safety and also just a step in the right direction. So have been talking with many neighbors and friends, you know, kind of just bringing them up to date on where the city is with this prioritization, and obviously with the fiscal year just coming up very soon. Just wanted to make sure that Tom, Dan, and of course council know that I'm available to collaborate and support when it comes to placement, et cetera. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Anyone else with an item not on tonight's agenda? Okay, I'm going to close the public forum and it's time for the city manager's report. Oh, sorry, one more.
Hello, I'm Michelle Farron. My husband, Mark, and I have lived in Amador County for 36 years. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to allowing a commercial marijuana shop at Sutter Hill and Sutter Creek. This is not just a business decision. It is a decision about the kind of community we want to be, the message we send to our children, and the risks we are willing to accept in exchange for uncertain financial benefit. First, we have to consider the impact marijuana has on young people. Even though sales would be limited to adults, the presence of a retail marijuana store in our community makes marijuana seem more normal, more acceptable, and more available. That matters because research has shown that the teenage brain is still developing well into the mid-20s. Regular marijuana use during adolescence has been associated with problems in attention, memory, learning, decision-making, and emotional regulation. When a substance can interfere with brain development, we should not make it easier for young people to see it as harmless or routine. Secondly, we need to think carefully about the promise of tax revenue. Supporters often argue that a marijuana shop will bring in money for the city or county, but taxes on marijuana sales are not free money. Any revenue has to be weighed against the broader social and public safety costs that can come with marijuana retail operations. Increased law enforcement demands, regulatory oversight, public nuisance complaints, impaired driving concerns, and enforcement against illegal diversion all take time and money. If those costs rise, the tax benefits can quickly shrink or disappear altogether. We also cannot ignore the concern about crime. Cash-heavy businesses can attract theft, burglary, and robbery. Even in regulated markets, marijuana stores may become targets because of the products they carry and the cash they often handle. Communities can also face loitering, illegal resale, and other secondary impacts that affect nearby businesses and residents. For a town like ours, even a modest increase in these issues can have an outsized effect on public safety and quality of life. Sutter Creek is a special place. People come here because of its history, its charm, and its sense of community. Placing a commercial marijuana shop at Sutter Hill risks changing that character in many ways that residents do not want. We should be investing in businesses that strengthen family life, tourism, and local pride, not ones that raise serious concerns about youth exposure, crime, and questionable fiscal return. I urge you to put the long-term well-being of this community ahead of short-term promises. Please do not allow a commercial marijuana shop at Sutter Hill. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to have the city manager's report.
Yeah, we have a couple of presentations tonight, so it's going to be pretty quick. But it's good to see everybody come out. We're actually focusing on economic development tonight. If you want to stick around, we're looking at other opportunities to raise money for the city. And we have a team from USC that's going to present a strategy. They looked at Sutter Creek. So just urge you guys to stick around a little bit. So some quick updates. The wastewater plant, Dan's told me that our rotor strainers have broke. So got a couple we've got to get fixed by winter. Not a big deal. Just want to make you guys aware. We're also continuing to triage our solids and our wastewater. We've been doing a lot of sampling, just trying to really figure out what's driving that, which is ultimately going to drive costs in our wastewater plant. And then the Valley View Commons, the low income housing project is getting very close to getting their building permits. They're going to pay pretty significant impact fees, as well as pay for an expansion to the sewer line up on Sutter Hill.
Tom, before you
Yep.
move on from that, the rotor strainers, or Dan rather, are those the things that we had 4 of and only 2 ever worked, and then we had 4 and now how many work?
We had 3 going, and then now we're down to 2. So
We have 4
we have 4. Yeah,
and
we had 3
only
going.
2 were functional for a really long time, right? And then
yeah.
we got another one going,
now we
and
have-
now we have how many going?
Now we're back to 2.
2. Okay.
Yep.
So it's been worse.
What's that?
It's been worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, tonight's theme is really about economic development, which is one of our annual priorities that the council set. We have we've been talking about it for some time. We did just get a submittal from Embark. So they got all their paperwork in, and we're in the middle of processing that. But we're also looking at other options for economic development. And then on the code enforcement front, we are working on some ordinance updates. And then weed abatement is going to be starting very soon. The fire department's out doing inspections. Again, this is for landowners to abate weeds to lessen fire danger for all of us. And then we are working on our draft budget, which we'll have to you for the next meeting. Sutter Hill Road has gone out to bid for repavement, and we got how many people? 15 people, 15 companies showed up, so that's a really good turnout. And the county is piloting a in-house paving capability. And you've heard a little bit about it, but I just wanted to mention that work's going on as well.
What is in-house paving?
They're
Different from what they are doing now?
they're looking at whether they can, instead of putting projects out to bid, do work in-house. So the county repaved Raggio Road as kind of a pilot project, and they're looking at a couple of other streets.
So the equipment is available for certain level of
yeah, the
repairs?
equipment requires heavy equipment operators. But again, and maybe Dan can speak to it later tonight in council comments. But yeah, it's basically looking at all aspects of whether we could do this in-house or not. So
That's a separate bullet from Sutter Hill Road. You're not
it is, yes.
inferring that it's considered for.
Right, no, we put Sutter Hill Road out to bid, and again, we had 15 companies show up for that. And then obviously this weekend's Memorial Day weekend. Just mentioning, we have a fair number of staff taking off either this week or next week, and we're covering everything. We've been looking at ADA support, which is a new law that came into effect gotten a year extension for small towns. But it's still something that we need to figure out. So, and then the pool, a lot of work on the pool this week, getting it all ready. There's a couple of elementary schools having graduation ceremonies next week, and then it'll open June 6th. And then we are also working on this Amador City safety police contract. And the timing of whether that would go into effect this year or next year is still being discussed. And then speaking of that, we have our first Police Foundation dinner this Friday night. Treasures is Saturday. The Italian picnic and parade is coming up. And you can see we're going to have our third 4th of July pool party coming up as well. And then on your agendas, our audit has it's well underway. It's nearly complete, but it's been delayed a little bit. It's going to get to you guys in July. The Planning Commission had its first session on the short-term rental ordinance. They did not complete it, so they're going to have a second meeting. But we'll see. Struggling with the same issues I think that you guys struggled with. I mentioned the code enforcement ordinances, the budget. We're also looking at a micro-trenching exception to allow broadband extension to go through Sutter Creek. It would come through town and go on to Amador City.
I don't, Tom, I don't want to go down a rat hole on that thing, but in the reporting, it sounded like something unforeseen had happened and.
Just the bids for, I mean, it's very expensive to trench deeply. So you're talking about a fiber optic strand. So a lot of them are doing what's called micro trenching, which is just a lower cost way to do it. So they've asked if we would consider that. Otherwise, they're not sure they will be able to do the project.
Okay. And we'd have to make an exception to our paving stuff to allow that to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And we also have the sewer system management plan, which we do every 5 years that Dan's working on. That's it. It's a very quick update.
I have one question. Is there any number that Embark has thrown out or that the city is starting with in terms of negotiating a percent into the general fund from Embark?
I mean,
Are we still?
They submitted
down the
kind of
line?
a draft developers agreement. That's one of the things we're negotiating. So I'm obviously pushing for a high number. They're pushing for a lower number.
Have they
It's in the 5 to 9% range, I would say.
Okay.
And then, there'd be 2% sales tax plus 1% community fund fee. So if it's at the high end, it'd be 12%.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Tom, could you give details on the Police Foundation dinner? You said it's Friday night, but could you give a little more detail on that?
And are there tickets
and
still
where?
I
available?
believe it's sold out.
Sold out.
And where would that be held? Oh, okay. And, okay.
Yep. All right, that's it.
Okay, any questions for Tom besides the ones we already asked? Public questions? Okay, we have a couple of presentations tonight. We'll start with Lisa from the Visitor Center. I presume it's going to be Lisa.
Good evening, council members and city staff. Thank you. My name's Lisa Klosowski, and I'm here representing the Sutter Creek Visitor Center. So thank you very much for letting us be here, and I won't take up much time. May I hand something out? Thanks.
While you talk.
Yeah, just give the whole step. Thank you. Well, okay, we'll let you know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So 2025 was the completion of our second year of being a visitor center. And We're really proud of it. We've got a great team of volunteers. I know you know most of them, but they're very dedicated. They have fun and enjoy it and do a really good job of helping visitors and locals. So anyway, I put together a little packet. As you open it up, you'll see the full color Sutter Creek brochure, which we designed and we print. We printed a couple times. And then this one we've printed and we're out now. We'll have to print it again. This one is a really popular one. It's the Gold Mine Trail. This brochure costs us a little over $1 a piece to print. We do print locally with Gold Web Printing. So we'll debate on whether or not we're going to continue with that, but it is a great brochure. Andy Farrenwald did the artwork years ago. And anyway, so those are two that we print outside. And then in the back of the folder, you'll see some of the brochures that we print in-house. And so there's, ink and paper expenses and stuff like that. We do have a dining and wine tasting guide, but I have to redo it since Elvis closed. So that one should have been in here, but it needs to be updated. Anyway, and I think I have to read the whole thing to have it in the minutes, but I'll be brief. I want to, from the heart, thank you for your support that you have given us in the last 2 years. We actually opened up September 1st, 2023. And our visitor center does more than just answer questions for the public. We're a friendly face to make them feel welcome. When people are in a new place, sometimes that friendly person in the visitor center can have an impact on how they feel about their whole experience. In 2025, we had 7,055 visitors. Yeah, it's really good. We share our history and our love of the area with them and get them to appreciate our gold rush history and how special our little towns are here. We keep the visitor center stocked with current brochures on as much information as possible for the whole county. We consider ourselves ambassadors for the entire county. So we send people all over the place. We're not just representing Sutter Creek. We've developed an event board, which we have posters there for all the different organizations. And this year we purchased a magnetic sandwich board sign so we can put posters outside too. The owner of the building painted the whole building last year and would not let us put an event board back up on the outside. And I understand because it was kind of shady, but anyway, so we did buy a new sandwich board sign so we can advertise all the events that are going on. And so I talked about that. Oh, and the brochure, the full color brochure that we designed, we've reprinted many times. These brochures are also included in our mailings because we did the ad in the Visit California magazine, which has 500,000 copies nationwide. We have a beautiful quarter-page ad in there for Sutter Creek, which we designed and co-opt with the city and the business association and us to pay for. But we get inquiries from that, and they ask for information on the area. So this brochure, the event calendar, and several other things like Kennedy Mine, Preston Castle, Knight Foundry. We put other information in there as well. That way the area looks like it's worth coming to. There's a lot to do. And so far we've mailed out over 600 of these packets. So, and we still have quite a few. They come in about every 2 weeks. We get more requests for stuff. And that's another thing that we pay for, are these mailings. So the visitor center, our goal is to be self-sufficient as possible. And in 2024, we invented the Sutter Creek Wine Walk event, and it sold out. In 2025, last year, the event sold out as well. It was a huge success. And it's enjoyed by locals and also attracting a lot of people from outside the county. So the money earned from that event helps us to pay our rent It also advertises Sutter Creek and brings customers to the businesses as well, which in turn generates more sales tax revenue. Although the wine walk event helps cover our rent, which is our biggest expense, there are other expenses that we need help with, such as insurance, utilities, supplies, paper and ink for the brochures we print in-house, and the printing costs for brochures that we have done professionally, our cleaning supplies, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's lots of extra little stuff. Therefore, we respectfully request that the city of Sutter Creek sponsor the visitor center for another fiscal year. And I thank you in advance for considering it. We believe that the visitor center is an essential service that Sutter Creek and Amador County needs. We are the only visitor center in Amador County. Our well-trained volunteers want to see it to continue and grow. To do this, we are asking the city of Sutter Creek to sponsor the visitor center again. And thank you. So the next page is, and there's not much, believe me, but it's just a quick review for the year for 2025. And it breaks down how many visitors we had. The average visitors per month is about 588. We were open 344 days, which is really good. Days open per month average 28.67. So 29 days a month we average being open. We're open from 10:30 to 4:30, 7 days a week, and volunteer staffed. So once in a while it may be closed if volunteer is not feeling well or on vacation or whatever. But we were only closed 21 days in 2025. So that averages 1.75 days a month. So we're there. We're there. I'm pretty proud of that. So that's a nice graph that one of our volunteers does. We have some very talented people in our team. So the next page is just interesting because you can compare 2024, which was our first year. So we had 5,467 visitors, and as compared to the 7,000 last year. And I expect we'll have more visitors because we're open more. We have 30 active volunteers. There's 42 on our mailing list, 30 diehard volunteers that are there all the time. And that, when I go to other organizations, they're like, what? You have that many? Yes, we do. And they're all dedicated. They love to come in, and we actually, they sign up a month in advance now because they want their shifts. If they don't put their name down, they may not get the shift that they like. And lastly, is just for fun. I put a page in. So our dedicated volunteers do tours of Amador County's major attractions so that they may talk to visitors with firsthand experience. These are just some photos of a few of the tours we have done. Each year we schedule these tours to make sure our new volunteers experience them as well. So right now we're working on the Kennedy Mine tour, Preston Castle tour, Night Foundry is going to set one up, and Chaussee Indian Grinding Rock. And those are all tours for newbies and some of us that want to just go because it's fun to do the excursions. So we completed the Rail Explorers again this year. That's an awesome tour. Georgia Fox did the Amador County Museum for us and Mine Model. And so anyway, that's just some pictures of the crew going out and doing these tours. Do you have any questions for me?
How are you so awesome? It's great.
Yes.
Really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? It's because we have awesome volunteers.
Yeah, I know. Thank you all.
Okay.
Is there any update, Lisa, on the pictures?
Yes.
That on the palace?
Yes.
lot?
So one of the projects that we took on was so many people come into the visitor center and say it's a shame that building was condemned. And they don't know that it burnt down. And so we did a series of banners, starting with the very first building that was there. and going through the history of that, and we're talking about 76 Main where the palace burnt down, or the Sutter Greek. And they're done. They're beautiful. I gave them to the owners of the property. And I stopped by this week to kind of say, can we have them by Trash to Treasures? Because people still do walk over there and look in there and they don't know what's going on. The banners turned out really, really pretty. So it's the full history of that building, culminating with the last banner, which is not done because they want to change the design a little bit. I emphasized the fire maybe a little too much. So they're going to redo that one. But the first 5 banners are done, and they have them, and hopefully they will put them up this week. And then the last one will be more about the current owners and then a little bit on the fire.
Thanks for doing that, Lisa.
Yeah,
You guys
Lisa.
just keep getting better. And I'm not trying to duck out of our sponsorship, but I do hope that also, as well as that, some of the other organizations in the county realize what you're doing for the whole thing. So now that we have the new Lodging Alliance or whatever they're called, and New Wine People, I hope they appreciate you as well.
I think they do, and people are starting to realize that we're here to help them as well. Like I announced it at the Business Association, and they say, we never get volunteers. And I say, well, let me know, and I'll send an email around, and we'll see who wants to help, like put up no parking signs for events. And we also have started selling tickets for different events. We've done Night Foundry and the duck races, and so different organizations are starting to think about us as an outlet to help them. Yeah.
You're great partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all you do.
Hey, our second presentation is from USC.
Yeah, I'll introduce it, and then we'll have our team present. So this is called the USC Sunstone Economic Challenge. And I think there were over 40 cities that applied, and they only took 6 in one county. And we were the only rural city of the 7 agencies. And then something like 20 student teams wanted to compete. And again, only 7 of them could do it. Yeah. And so you're going to hear tonight from our team, which was Abe, Dalton, and Marilyn. And I'll let them introduce themselves. They're all in different parts of California. They can tell you a little bit about themselves and where they are, and they're going to take you guys through their analysis of Sutter Creek. So guys, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon, Mayor and honorable council members, and thank you again for the opportunity to present our work with you guys tonight. My name is Abraham, and I'm joined by Dalton and Marilyn. And as Tom mentioned, we're all Master of Public Administration students currently at the University of Southern California in the Sol Price School of Public Policy. In my professional role, I currently serve as a policy advisor to a member of the County of Orange Board of Supervisors. Dalton is an administrative analyst in the City of Riverside Public Works Department, and Marilyn is a senior office assistant for the City of Pleasanton Library and Recreation Department. So to provide a little bit of background on what we're presenting to you today, I'll briefly explain the Economic Development Challenge that we participated in, and we've had the privilege of working with the City of Sutter Creek on. So we're all full-time students, and we're all also full-time employees. And at the end of 2025, we decided to participate in this Economic Development Challenge that's put on by the Sol Price School of Public Policy in partnership with Sunstone Cities. This is outside of our regular coursework, and although our free time is already limited, it sounded like a good opportunity, so we made a team and decided to join. In December, we submitted a proposal in response to the city's RFP, and we were fortunate to be selected by the City of Sutter Creek to serve as the student consulting team. And from January to April, we worked alongside your city manager, Tom, and other city staff to refine our work, prepare a staff report, and work toward our final presentation, which we pitched to a panel of judges. The final pitch took place at the end of April. We delivered our pitch in a contest-like setting on the USC campus, and we're fortunate to have Tom come to LA and support us. As he mentioned, we competed against several other cities, and they all delivered impressive work. And unfortunately, we did not win the cash prize from the challenge, but we are proud of our work and grateful for this real world experience. And we all have found it to be very rewarding throughout every step of the process. Just a quick overview. Our presentation, we had a little background on the city of Sutter Creek, the problem that we have been working to address, some of the key stakeholders, our recommendations, and then lastly, the fiscal impact.
All right, Sutter Creek is an historic gold rush city established in 1854 with approximately 2,600 residents. It benefits from a strong sense of place, a walkable downtown, and proximity to Sacramento and the Sierra Nevada foothills. The local economy is driven primarily by retail, hospitality, and tourism-related businesses. And these are strong assets, but they create vulnerability due to limited diversification and seasonal economic activity. So the core challenge is balancing growth with identity. Sutter Creek wants to strengthen its economic base, but faces several constraints, like an aging workforce, limited job diversity, difficulty attracting businesses, and over-reliance on tourism. And at the same time, the city has strong assets, such as its historic character, affordability relative to urban areas, and a high quality of life. Our vision is to transform Sutter Creek into a regional hub for entrepreneurship and small business growth while preserving what makes it unique.
So to achieve these visions and goals, we've identified several key stakeholders and strategic partners to support in workforce training and development, waste to value biotech programs, and funding and policy support. And these are just a couple examples of companies or organizations that you could partner with. So first, we've got educational institutions to help build a workforce pipeline through training, internships, and career pathways, or workforce training and education pipeline programs. We also have clean energy and agricultural biotech companies, which could be potential co-investment partners in waste to energy and agricultural byproduct solutions. Agricultural and land-based organizations to support the integration of agritourism and agricultural-based business development. Tourism and destination marketing partners to promote Sutter Creek and support business attraction efforts. Private sector and other industry partners to operate businesses, activate space, and develop visitor experiences. Business orgs and support networks to develop business support, mentorship, and program implementation. And finally, regional government, but also really just government agencies, including what is not listed here, state and federal agencies, to help provide funding support, policy support, and then regional coordination. And so this is a high-level overview of the recommendations that we will be providing today in our presentation. Recommendation 1 is to develop a Y Sutter Creek business attraction plan that includes also a Y Amador County narrative to better position the city competitively within the region and to attract new businesses. Recommendation 2 is to establish an entrepreneurship development center to provide centralized business support and training, workforce development, and technical assistance. Recommendation 3, to develop an innovation campus and business incubator to create a structured pipeline for entrepreneurs to launch and scale businesses. And then finally, recommendation 4, which is to launch a Sutter Creek Agricultural Innovation Pilot Program to leverage regional agricultural assets while aligning with California's climate goals. Moving directly into our very first recommendation, which is the Y Sutter Creek and Y Amador County Business Attraction Plan. Under this plan, we propose that the city would develop targeted materials such as one-pagers and pamphlets, maybe new website landing pages, and digital and social marketing campaigns that highlight the demographics, affordability, and business opportunities that Sutter Creek and Amador County has to offer. This plan would be a two-tiered funnel approach. We anticipate attracting interest regionally and then converting it into local investment. And so at the regional level, which is the Y Amador County campaign, we're focusing on workforce capacity, market access, and economic opportunity to attract initial interest. And then moving into a more local level, which is the Y Sutter Creek campaign. And that focuses more on highlighting the city's quality of life, its historic character, and of course, its strong small business appeal. And then overall, this will allow Sutter Creek to compete more effectively by aligning regional and local branding to attract new businesses and positions Sutter Creek as a launch point for growth within Amador County.
All right, our second recommendation is to build an Entrepreneurship Development Center, or EDC. The EDC would be a city-led, in-house program using an existing city-owned facility, keeping startup costs low while building long-term institutional capacity. The EDC serves three primary functions. First, it provides business support and advisory services, such as one-on-one technical assistance for both new entrepreneurs and existing businesses, covering everything from business planning and permitting to accessing capital. Second, the EDC would promote workforce and skills development through partnerships with Amador College Connect, regional universities, and local professionals. The city can offer workshops on financial literacy, digital marketing, agritourism, and small business operations. And third, the EDC becomes a central hub that connects entrepreneurs to resources, finding opportunities, and regional partners. This reduces fragmentation, making it easier to start and grow a business in Sutter Creek and fostering a collaborative entrepreneurial ecosystem. And our third recommendation is building an innovation campus and business incubator. Building on the EDC, this is a cohort-based program modeled on the NSF I-Core framework, focusing on customer discovery, market validation, and rapid iteration. Participants would go through a structured 7-week program where they test business ideas, identify target customers, refine revenue models, and ultimately decide whether to launch or expand. In summary, the incubator will create a structured pathway to help businesses launch, grow, and scale within Sutter Creek and the broader Amador region.
And then finally, we have our recommendation 4, which is to launch an agricultural innovation pilot program. And then this is anticipated to align with California's climate and sustainability goals, more notably SB Bill 1383, which requires jurisdictions to reduce organic waste and methane emissions by allowing Sutter Creek to bring in businesses that convert agricultural and organic waste into renewable energy and other marketable products. This program would be implemented through a public-private partnership model where the city would support functions such as site identification, permitting, and coordination, and private partners will be bringing the technology, the capital, and then the operational expertise. Additional funding needed can be supported through state and federal opportunities, such as CalRecycle and USDA grants to minimize local fiscal impacts. This opportunity really is reinforced by the rapid growth of the U.S. organics to energy sector, which now includes at least 2,600 biogas facilities with over $3 billion in new projects, which is a 40% increase added really in 2024 alone. We've also identified a few ag tech partners on the right here that the city could partner with, as shown. And then we've also looked at a couple of different models from different cities to build our recommendation here. So we looked at, and all of these are private to private partnership models. So first and foremost, we have Napa, which has developed partnerships to convert organic waste into renewable natural gas municipal use. So they're really keeping it as a closed loop circle, and they're using the renewable energy to really support and provide natural gas for their waste trucks. We also have the city of Paris, which has implemented a state-funded anaerobic digestion facility producing low-carbon fuel. And then also Sacramento is a regional effort, which we believe that Sutter Creek can also leverage and use Amador County, and operates a bioenergy model that really serves, again, multiple jurisdictions across the county. And so this program that we're recommending is going to be integrated, or we anticipate it to be integrated within the EDC and Innovation Campus ecosystem, which will allow the city to create a pipeline that not only supports small business development, but also leverages regional agricultural assets to attract clean energy, biotech, and value-added agricultural businesses, create new revenue streams for the city, and create skilled jobs in clean energy and environmental services.
As we mentioned previously, our recommendations are in a phased approach, and we recognize that each one of these will take some time to implement. For the first 6 months, the focus will be on creating the foundation. In this first phase, the key actions include the creation of both physical and digital marketing materials to attract businesses to Sutter Creek. In addition, creating relationships and partnerships with some of the key stakeholders is instrumental in the beginning phase for long-term success further down the road. While we want to attract new businesses, it is just as important to retain current businesses and earn their support in these efforts. We believe that connecting with the local Chamber of Commerce, local businesses, and local educational institutions should be prioritized in this phase. Phase 2 is the activation phase, and we estimate this to be within the 6 to 18-month range from the initial launch date. In this phase, the Entrepreneurship Development Center, or EDC, is one of the key action items. The city would repurpose an existing facility that is currently underutilized and create a welcoming space for meetings and small workshops. The city should leverage the existing grant that they have been awarded to purchase basic materials, including conference table, chairs, presentation screen, a desktop, a printer, and basic internet service. And the idea is that this space will grow and scale over time. But to begin, a basic meeting space is essential for entrepreneurs to meet and pitch to investors, as well as having access to the basic resources needed to do so. The next key action item in this phase is launching a business incubator program in partnership with the surrounding educational institutions. We envision this as an 8 to 10 week cohort workshop designed to support entrepreneurs from idea to launch. Digital marketing to bring in entrepreneurs is vital for this step to be successful. And while we don't believe that the city should weed out any idea initially, we do believe that there's a niche opportunity for agriculture innovation in the region. The city should seek partnerships with clean energy organizations that repurpose agriculture waste products. And finally, phase 3, which is the growth phase, which we project between the 2 and 5 year mark from the initial launch date. In this phase, the EDC should experience growth in demand and should be scaled appropriately. The city should consider assistance in facilitating private investment into new businesses with the goal to anchor them down in Sutter Creek. Additionally, formalizing a regional entrepreneurial ecosystem to expand across all of Amador County will bring benefit to the city's efforts in this space. And lastly, for the fiscal impact, the results from the city's economic development efforts will bring additional revenue to the city. The revenue will come from increased taxes, new business license, permits, and fees, attracting private investment to grow these businesses and seeking out targeted grants to fund the entrepreneurial efforts long term. Our team looked at results from Siskiyou County, who led similar efforts, and we adjusted their numbers based on the current population of Sutter Creek. Based on this, we believe that the Entrepreneurship Development Center could support approximately 40 to 75 new businesses, bringing in about $500,000 to $600,000 in new investment and generate about $400,000 to $600,000 in increased sales. This would also result in 4 to 5 new businesses and 14 to 18 new jobs in the area. In Siskiyou, there was a $9 return on investment for every $1 invested, and $1 million in annual economic activity was generated. We believe that similar results could be duplicated in Sutter Creek. And that is all. We're happy to answer any questions you may have, and wanted to thank you guys again for allowing us to work with Tom and your city staff and throughout this whole process.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it very much. My name is Dan. I had a question on your implementation. It says it's on. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
So on your implementation timeline, I was wondering about like go, no go criteria that would enable you to objectively decide, are we good? Do we continue going, or is it time to stop and refoot something? Do you have that kind of stuff baked in, or is that a to-do?
We don't have it. We don't have it baked in. We kind of, I guess, created an implementation plan. Hoping and expecting that everything would go to plan, but I do understand what you're saying. Sort of some benchmark points. Hit those marks and then move forward. That would be something that we would need to do. Establish those points of milestones to hit along the way.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you.
Anybody else? I gotta find mine.
Tom, I
I'll-
might ask you what, in terms of next steps in working with this plan, just briefly, what are the next steps in determining what, if anything, to move forward with?
Yeah, yeah, and we kind of talked as they worked on this.
Yeah.
And then, we have our update towards the end of the meeting tonight.
Exactly.
So again, I think it aligned pretty well. I think that first phase of kind of why Amador County, why Sutter Creek is a good place to start.
Yeah.
But you'll hear in our update, we've also been reaching out to potential partners and
Good.
looking at what other people are doing. So, again, and this is a long-term effort, as you'll see when we talk later tonight. I mean,
Exactly.
talking, 5 years, but you have to be purposeful. I think that's the point.
Absolutely.
And I'm encouraged by the fact that it's a major step for the city of Sutter Creek that's always been defined as a tourism center and the whole jewel and the culture. But this takes our city into a whole nother level of involvement. And I'm excited about reading through this and the other information that was in the packet. I mean, it's a big growth step. And in a new identity, but that's exciting, thinking that it could even be possible.
Yeah. And again, what these guys all work in cities and counties. So I thought it was a very pragmatic approach as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Siskiyou model, is that something that can be looked in, that we can look into on our own, that was mentioned?
Yeah,
Is that?
Well, yeah, why don't you direct your questions to them rather than me, but.
Well, this is Julia Iseric, and I'm just appreciative of the amount of work and time that you put into our community. Thank you. And it's exciting to see, I guess, a dream that could be pragmatic, and trying to see, what would our next step be? And is the Siskiyou model something that we can look at in the meantime for more information as a example role model?
Yes, I think so. So Siskiyou County received a grant from the Small Business Development Administration maybe 6 years ago, and they built out their entrepreneurship development center out of one of their old libraries. So they are leaning heavily into agriculture and tourism. So we thought that was a similar background to Sutter Creek, and that's why we kind of based our research off their model. But it's something that could be done fairly easily with, resources you have right now.
All right. Thank you.
Just a quick comment. Thank you very much, Jim Swift, council member. Really appreciate all the work and thoroughness that went into this. And in all the years that I've been here, this is really the first time we've seen anything quite like this, and it's very much appreciated. And hope we can keep it going.
I wanted to say the same thanks, Susan Feist. I'm a council member as well, and thanks for your thoughtfulness and insight. And I really appreciate you addressing the seasonality here and the challenges with that with tourism. I've had a small business here for 14 years, and all of this is super exciting. And thanks again. Hi, this is Claire Gunzelman. I'm the mayor. Thank you. This is awesome. It's positive and forward thinking, and I appreciate it. And my thoughts sort of tied into the next presentation. I don't know if you guys are sticking around. I hope you are. I'm anxious to look at the why Amador and why Sutter Creek, what our reasons are as we mine those, what the attractions are for businesses. And, I know the attractions for all of us living here, but we do have infrastructure challenges as well as benefits. And I'm anxious to see those listed, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go to the public at all, just to.
Did anyone have a comment or a question for these folks? And I'm not sure if you've seen the whole agenda, but we do have another economic development item coming up here. What do we call it? there's a development of an economic development strategic
Number-
plan. And no, about maybe 20 minutes of items, so, but you're welcome to comment now. Okay, I don't hear anybody. Are you guys gonna stick around?
I gotta jump off, but I saw it on the agenda and I have it open on my computer. I'm excited to read through it. Thank you guys again for the opportunity to present and the opportunity to really work with your city. We've done a lot of research on your community, and I need to plan a trip and come visit and see it for myself. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. You guys have 2 full-time jobs and stuck around for a council meeting, so appreciate
Yes,
that.
Yes, thank you.
thanks for your work. If we have any aha moments, Tom will email you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
Nice.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
Grab. Steve was called Steve, but his name is Steve. Sometimes he gets by Steve. Jess, why did you try her own? Soccer team. Cheers. Club team. Dad's out there. She's like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, just wait for a letter. Yeah. Is it kind of kids he's already played with? Like, do they? He went to play with other teams and go to this team. Try out like practical exhibitions in their story. Expanding out team. Yeah. What's about? You just still make it too hot. First time I'm not sweating in a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good.
Good job.
Yeah, right.
I mean, some of the team, the other team might have been brighter, but they were.
Yeah, no, yeah, hard to.
You're still on for dinner on Friday, right? You're still on for the. Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Big city, $1 billion. Yeah. Oh, okay. I used to know. Yeah.
You cool? Those things up there
yesterday.
are just blown. Cold air sinks.
That wind brought out my allergies like that.
Sure, it did a lot of people. Well, you look, just look at the horizon. It's just.
This guy shipwrecked on an island and started a 14,000 acre fire. The Channel Islands.
Ring the bell, reset.
California.
Well, we got Dan and Julie are both.
Some of them, right? My whistle, man.
Yeah.
It's in the car.
All right. Mason? How are you? Are you doing all right? I'm doing okay. She's good.
Hello?
Yeah, she's good. We were just down in Oakland for a few days, visiting a grandchild, and seeing.
Julia, you just,
son Jack.
Julia,
Yeah, it's good.
you just
They're
called
great.
me.
Yeah, he's good. He's,
It's on silent, so I don't even know who I'm.
so River, his son River
I got it.
is, gonna be 13. So he's going into 8th grade.
Okay, I'm going to call us back into session.
Really?
We're on item 6, the approval of the minutes from May 4th.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented for the May 4th meeting.
Anybody else have any additions or edits?
No, I don't. I'll second the motion.
That's weird, yeah.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Pam, will you go ahead?
Vice Mayor Cirque,
Aye.
Councilmember Reardon,
Aye.
Councilmember Feist. Sorry.
Present.
Yes or no? Minute.
Yes or no?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Swift,
Aye.
Mayor Gunstleman.
abstain. Okay, on the consent agenda, we have the public, the safety element update. We already adopted the safety element. This is just a small change to it. There is a public hearing agendized, so if anybody from the public is here to speak on the safety element update, I'll open the public hearing. Is anyone here to speak on that? Okay, so if that's the case, then it's on consent. Council, we can hear a motion to approve it unless
we also
any
have-
of you wanted to discuss.
Do we also have B, the dedication for Valley View Way?
Yeah.
On consent, yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's on.
It's on
consent.
consent.
Two on consent.
right.
I make a motion to approve both items 7A and 7B on the consent agenda.
I would second.
Councilmember Swift,
Aye.
Councilmember Reardon,
Aye.
Councilmember Feist,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cirque,
Aye.
Mayor Gunstleman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, we have a public hearing on delinquent sewer charges. Did you want to present anything or?
No, I don't think we really have an update this time.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone here to speak on this item? I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, did you have any comments? Otherwise, we can direct the city clerk to record the delinquencies.
I so move,
Do you need a motion on that?
or just,
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Julia. I was just checking.
Second.
Mhm.
On her motion.
Okay. Vice Mayor Cirque,
aye.
Councilmember Reardon,
Aye.
Councilmember Feist,
Aye.
Councilmember Swift,
Aye.
Mayor Gunstleman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to 8B, the surveillance ordinance. Tom?
Yes, I'll just do a quick intro and then Derek will take it, but we had a discussion. You guys gave us some directions. So, we've drafted the ordinance basically as you recommended, and that's what's before you tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. I don't have much to add. This is really authorization legislation. It's codifying that we will have a policy and that when we purchase technology or use technology, we will follow the policy that we ultimately adopt. So I do want to emphasize that you have not adopted your policy yet. This is to put in place the legal mechanisms in our code to require us to have a policy and to require us to follow that policy and to require us to do audits and updates to that policy. So this is really just the authorization legislation, if you will. And, so tonight you're being asked to introduce this. If you introduce it, it goes to your next reading, at your next meeting. And if you ultimately enact at that meeting, then you will have to put the policy in place. That will be something that city manager and police chief will work together to present to you. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think what we're doing tonight is relatively self-explanatory.
This is the placeholder for a policy.
It's the
Bare bones.
yeah, it says it's the policy to have a policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to clarify that establishing a policy does not ensure any contract or any commitment down the line. So I want to clarify that too.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. In the ordinance that's in our packet, I pulled up our notes from our last discussion, and one of the items was the number of days that the data will be saved and retained. That was in the original one that Tom brought as an example, but it's not listed or it's not described at all in this ordinance.
Correct. That will be in the policy.
Okay.
This isn't the policy. So those notes and direction we gave was for a policy that that staff will
Wouldn't it
ultimately
be
develop.
in the ordinance to include those?
I would prefer that be in the policy because that seems more policy based. This is more sort of we will do the following, and this is the basic
Right.
legal requirements.
I think, Julia, when that policy, I think what it's going to be is a greater level of detail on all these broader issues that we've kind of agreed on. But like the days for retention and all that stuff, all of that will absolutely be specified at a much greater level of detail than it is at this point. This is just an authority to kind of move forward.
And it makes it easier to change the policy without having to change the ordinance.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have a couple other questions specific to this that's in our packet. It would be on page 62 of our packet, the 2.55.020 council approval of surveillance use. There's a statement says if no current surveillance use policy covers an approved activity, the council shall adopt a new policy or amend an existing policy to address the new activity. Can you give me an example of how that would take place?
We would adopt the policy by a resolution. So the policy that, we'd write up the policy and then that would be presented to you as a resolution to adopt, to implement the policy. We do not have a current policy. So what that's saying is we will have a policy.
Well, on the next page, page 63, a description of how each city council approved surveillance technology was used. This is an inclusion of the surveillance report. Then how the data was shared, number 2.
Are you referring to the draft ordinance?
The annual surveillance report. Under definitions.
Oh, okay. Which section is that? Oh, that 255060.
060.
Which
Number
letter?
2, whether and how often data acquired through the use of their surveillance technology was shared with outside entities.
That
I think we discussed that originally that it was going to be highly limited. And the name of any recipient entity, the types of data disclosed, and the reason for disclosure.
Correct. That's specifying the subject that we have to address in the report. So what I think I hear you saying, Councilmember Sirk, is you're wanting to get into the actual policy. What would it involve, and how would we share, for
Okay.
instance, with the federal government in
just-
light
I
of
beat ahead.
all the ICE stuff going on? That'd be part of the policy.
Yeah.
Okay,
So with,
yeah. Okay, I'm getting it now.
how
Yeah.
and with will be more fleshed out in the policy?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Right.
Yeah, like
thinking
how
about.
would you share with the federal government in light of all the stuff that we see going on today, that the policy could address that?
Right. If you
Um,
would share.
If you would share, and in fact, I've dealt with this in another city. There are Attorney General guidances on ALPR, readers, and when you can share with out of state. So for instance, the ACLU last year sent an advisory to a lot of cities, one of which included a city where I work, where we use ALPR, and they were concerned about the states that have restrictive abortion bans, and they were concerned about the use of ALPR data being used to track people in other states going
Right.
through cities to prove that they were somehow coming to California
Right.
for purposes of using, getting abortion services. And the Attorney General and the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the ACLU, basically sent letters, and the Attorney General opined saying, you can't use ALPR to give to out-of-state entities.
Right.
And so there's some regulations on that, but those are, I think, more of a granular type thing that we'll address with the policy.
Right.
And then the benefit, it says recommended introduce waive the first reading of this ordinance. Why would we waive it?
That's just a procedural requirement. What that means is we don't have to actually have someone read this entire ordinance into the record. We essentially read the title, which is done on the agenda.
We always do.
Okay.
The written.
Yeah, that's
Well,
just
no, this
it's
is
kind of
just-
an anachronism about how we
Go
do
for it.
ordinance procedures.
All right.
So then, I think you kind of answered this question. So what happens again now? So this ordinance, when do you do the policy portion of the ordinance? When does that happen?
We don't have we have to do this within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, but I think it's the intention of staff, the police chief, and our city manager to bring this back to you pretty quickly. So, I mean,
And at that point, we discuss each and every one of these issues to our
Correct.
heart's content.
yes, and then you adopt it by resolution. So you would take a majority vote on a resolution approving the final policy with the wording that at least a majority of you can sign on to, and then that becomes the policy until it is amended by a further vote of
Right.
this or a future council.
Right. I want to make a recommendation, if I might, on this particular one, because we're all deeply concerned about it and have concerns about it. So to the extent that a draft can get to us well in front of the meeting,
Yeah.
sitting here, to give us time to study it and get our notes together and thoughts, that might be helpful when we have that meeting.
Yes.
Yeah?
Is that possible?
Is that a fair request?
Fair request.
Sure.
And your timing is your timing, whatever it is.
I mean, you could have the policy, a couple meetings before we bring it to you if you want it that long.
Yeah.
Well,
That would be-
the council's intent is to have a policy before we discuss a purchase. So,
Absolutely.
So
there's.
that's why the policy is critical.
Right, yeah, so
It needs to
it
be
will happen
comprehensive.
first, and I'm sure, staff is got their own time frame to bring it to us for that purpose,
Well,
They
what
wanted
they
it in
could-
this budget.
But again,
Yeah.
we're not, I don't think we're thinking of anything different than what we've discussed before. It would probably be a one pager of those items that we talked about. So, and again, if you want to tweak the number of days of retention or whatever, we can talk through that. Some of it we may need to wait until we have a particular vendor and see what their rules are, if they allow certain things or don't allow things, and then.
I think we establish our policy and find a vendor that fits our policy.
Sure, we could. And then if if the department came back and said we really like this vendor, then they'd have to bring it back and explain why. So that's kind of the point of the policy, right?
The public have any comments on this? Go ahead, sir.
Howdy, folks. Good evening, Mayor Gunzelman, members of the council. My name is Joe. I'm a resident of Sutter Creek, and I've spent nearly 30 years working in information technology and information security, including compliance. Much of my career has been helping organizations choose and implement technology, or helping them clean up after poor choices. I'm here to speak on item 8B, the Surveillance and Privacy Protection Ordinance. Let me say up front, the ordinance is a reasonable starting point, and I'm really glad it exists. But a framework without teeth is just paperwork. The decision in front of you is procedural, but it sets up a procurement decision that if it goes wrong, it will be very expensive to undo. I'm submitting a written list of 14 specific amendments to the clerk. I only brought a couple copies with me, so maybe you guys can digitize and pass it around. But tonight I want to talk about why those amendments matter, not what each particular one says, because the case for giving this ordinance accountability with consequences rests on three kinds of cost. First is the direct financial cost. The city attorney's fiscal impact statement says correctly that adopting this ordinance costs nothing. But the same statement acknowledges that future costs will be tied to hardware and software subscriptions. That phrase is important. Surveillance technology in 2026 is not a capital purchase that the city owns. It's a subscription. The cameras are leased, the data is rented, the vendor controls the platform. And the price the city pays in 1 year is typically not the price it pays in year 3. Because once the system is operationally embedded, the city has no leverage when it comes time for renewal. For a town of about 2,500 residents with a small tax base, every recurring dollar spent on surveillance subscription is a dollar not spent on, lighting, road maintenance, mental health response or fire department, what have you. The cost of saying yes to the technology is paid every year indefinitely, and it keeps on growing. So that's the real first cost. The second cost is unwinding a bad decision. In my field, this is called a decommissioning cost, and it's consistently the most underestimated number on any technology budget. If the council buys a surveillance system and 3 years from now decides that it was a mistake, the cost of getting out is not the cost of canceling the contract. It is terminating a multi-year agreement that may include penalty clauses, obtaining and verifying, excuse me, data destruction certificates from a vendor whose claims the city has limited ability to audit, trying to recall data that has already flowed to state fusion centers and federal partners, and to the vendor's national sharing network. These are recalls that cannot succeed because those downstream parties have their own retention policies, their own backups, unwinding integrations with police systems, retraining personnel, satisfying public records requests on retained program data for years after termination, and managing civil rights litigation exposure that may emerge later from, wrongful identification cases, anything that happened while the program was running. You're going to be on the hook for that for, long after you might decide to terminate that. As an example, Cambridge, Massachusetts terminated their vendor contract not long ago for cause last December because their vendor installed cameras without permission. No, excuse me. Well, let me wrap up. There are a lot of hidden costs, and making a clean exit is not just necessarily, terminating the contract. Let me wrap up by saying the third cost is civil liberties. I want this to land clearly. The Fourth Amendment was written specifically against general warrants, open-ended authorizations to search everyone without specific cause, license plate readers, intelligent cameras. Those are general warrants in machine form. Every car, every time, no suspicion. We're a town of 2,500 people, and that's persistent and suspicionless logging of every person. It's not abstract. So I will give you copies of the list I have that firms up the language a bit, and I hope you guys will consider it and review it when you do have the first reading.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
This was a little anticlimactic because we had a meeting a month or so ago where we discussed the need to have some sort of policy if we were to in the future get some sort of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the policy. If you can look up our agenda.
I understand.
I'm sure Pam can give you the date of that meeting. It lays out some of the things initially we think we'd be concerned about before we do this deep dive, but
April 6th.
that'll be a public process that I hope you're here for and could be a part of.
I certainly will be. I did watch the meeting on April 6th. If I recall, you were going to maybe copy the city of Palo Alto, maybe as a template, which it's okay, but Sutter Creek is not Palo Alto. They're in a major metro. Their population is far greater. Realistically, we have very few tax dollars, and we don't really have a lot of crime. So, what I see as a someone that's been in technology for a long time is an increasing cost without a really clear benefit. I think from the 6th, there was someone asked like what the goal was, and it was like safety. But that's not really, it's not measurable. Like what are we trying to do other than a vague safety, right? And again, like I said, this is subscription based. What you pay for Netflix now is not what you were paying before. And it's not like it's just inflation, adjusted. These companies are making record profits. So that's the cost. And like I said, unwinding, once you've already implemented something and you have operational reliance on it, it's really hard to extract. So, it's concerning on multiple levels, financial and civil. So, yeah, I've got a handout, and it firms up some of the ordinance language.
Yeah,
and I hope it's
we'll
considered.
take your handout and make copies.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for
coming to speak on this.
Is your contact information on there? Thank you.
We can make, they'll
Just
just
give them
copy if you just give them.
Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around too for the end of the meeting.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bethany Darnell. I'm a resident of Sutter Creek. I want to speak on the surveillance ordinance as well, but from a different angle. I'm here to share what cities across the country are learning about the technology that the ordinance is designed to govern. Since the start of 2025, more than 30 cities and counties have canceled, terminated, or refused to renew their contracts with Flock Safety, who's the dominant vendor for the license plate readers and intelligent cameras that this council may soon be asked to approve. In just the first 2 months of 2026, there's been another wave of cancellations documented, and the pace is accelerating. It's not a fringe trend. It's what's happening as communities figure out what they actually bought. 3 things are being discovered. The technology gets abused by the people running it. This year, a Milwaukee officer was charged with misconduct after running more than 170 searches in Flock in 2 months to track a dating partner and her ex-boyfriend. In Braselton, Georgia, a police chief was arrested last November for using police cameras to stalk people. The ACLU of Wisconsin called these cases part of a growing pattern, saying they show just how easily Flock cameras can be turned against the very people the technology purports to protect. When the system that watches everybody is operated by individual people, the system watches whoever those people choose. The second thing is that the data does not stay local, even when the city was promised that it would. In Bridgewater, Virginia, 5 Flock cameras had their data accessed by outside law enforcement 6.9 million times in a single year. In Woodburn, Oregon, where the city was told only Oregon law enforcement could query its data, the Department of Homeland Security and Border hit it 384 times. And in Santa Cruz, state agencies illegally accessed local Flock data approximately 4,000 times in 5 months on behalf of federal law enforcement. In Illinois, a state audit found that Flock had allowed Customs and Border Protection access in violation of state law. Charlottesville, Virginia ended its program last year, and their city manager said it was because of ongoing concerns for protection of data, potential misuse by outside forces, and an inability to guarantee our local parameters would protect the information from being used outside of how the local law enforcement personnel were using this system. So their council requested that they not move forward. No matter what rules the council writes in the ordinance, the city of Sutter Creek cannot guarantee that what happens to its residents' data once it leaves the camera. That's not hypothetical. That's the operational reality that other cities have discovered after they signed with vendors. The third thing is that the technology does not stop where the vendors say it stops. The ACLU reported last year that Flock is now deploying AI features that automatically flag and report drivers to police based on what the software calls suspicious movement patterns. Not because anyone suspects you, but because the algorithm does. An Oak Park, Illinois audit found Black drivers flagged by the system at an 85% rate in a population that's an 18% Black. Whatever the city buys today is not what the city will be using in 3 years. The product roadmap is more surveillance, more sharing, more automation, and more inference. So here's my ask. Adopt the strongest possible version of the ordinance with the amendments that Joe has provided. Then when the procurement decision actually comes before you, use the framework you adopted to say no. Please let this council be one that learns from the experience of other cities and counties rather than one that becomes the next case study. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to council. We would we would need a motion if we are still interested in passing this ordinance to have in place to later pass the policy to later consider procurement.
Right.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I just want to say that I want to see, the finished product. That's all.
And
Same.
yeah,
I would
Same.
say move forward, but I want to see the finished project.
Of the policy or the procurement?
policy.
Both,
Yeah.
both,
Absolutely.
before moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of things to consider and a lot of unanswered questions, but I don't see any reason to not have this in place. I feel like it's the first step. And even if this council doesn't make a procurement decision. Some future council can make a procurement decision. And I think that I can't see a reason not to at least start to put the safeguards there.
I
Agreed.
would like to emphasize, I would like to see the safeguards. And it's difficult for me to move forward on this without having a tighter defined policy. I know the process, I get that now. But I'm having a hard time that we can come up with a policy to manage the concerns that I have of the procurement. So for me, it's at what point do we say,
So
I think we need
yeah,
more
I understand.
information?
I would just say, before this whole conversation started, there was no policy, there was no ordinance. We would have just procured it. So, the fact we're doing this to address these concerns that you're raising.
So I get that.
So,
It's a protection.
Yes.
Yes.
So I would just,
And
But
again,
it's still, yes.
Yeah.
And then it could lead us to the point that we decide the procurement isn't appropriate because we
Right.
can't safeguard our.
This is not an approval of procurement.
Correct.
right. But I'm just saying, normally, we would have just procured without, it would have been part of a budget. You guys wouldn't have really been aware, probably. So
I
we're
don't
highlighting
think that
this.
probably would have been wise, but let's move forward. So
Okay,
is,
so Pam, can you call for a vote, please?
Okay. Councilmember Feist,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cirque,
aye.
Councilmember Reardon, Councilmember Swift, Mayor Gunselman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks again for sticking around.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to our Economic Development Strategic Plan.
Yeah, so heartened by your reaction to the first presentation. And I hope you guys, read the staff report. This is a kind of a bold step, and really is looking at, again, having a purposeful strategy for economic development really in the region. And yes, we're a small city, but I think we could take steps that would really impact the Sierras broadly. And so, tonight I'm really asking you guys to think big. I also wanted to introduce Gary. Gary Jinks has been here all evening. He has been our consultant and working with me. We got our Sierra Jobs First grant. We've been stretching those funds and getting a lot of kind of legwork done. And Gary has a background in innovation and kind of entrepreneurship. He moved out here a couple of years ago now. And Gary, what?
Gary,
go-
can you speak to the
You
microphone?
can go to the mic if you want. Yeah. Yeah.
There might be people at home listening to you.
There you go. Okay, so anyway, I moved up here 18 months ago from the Bay Area. I moved up here to retire, and ended up sitting I'm in Plymouth, and I was in the Dead Fly Diner for breakfast, read a local ledger, and there was half a page on Sutter Creek wanting to build an innovation system and bring an innovation model. And I go, wow, what a coincidence. That's what I do. So I've done that globally. So when I got out of the Army, I got hired by a tier 1 defense contractor. I mean, like the very next day, I went down to unemployment to get some time off, make my transition. I was hired 2 days later. And that I did for 20 years through an aerospace company and other DoD companies. And that's how I learned about bringing innovation to market, from an idea in the head to a napkin. I then learned about the startup model and the startup world through the .com. That was a short coffee break. But I learned about VCs, investing, what goes on in that place. And then I had an opportunity in 2007, I was 7, I was having lunch, and I had a bunch of guys next to me. We're discussing and brainstorming, and I butted in and made a couple of answers to their questions. They invited me to the table, and they launched, that was the launching of Plug and Play in Sunnyvale, which has launched some of the biggest company, does the most deal flow in the world. But because of that, all the way from 07 until 18, I was in the right place on the sidewalk, and I helped open virtually every accelerator and incubator and that kind of thing in South San Francisco and South. And there's 20 of those in just Palo Alto. The last one I did was 3 years ago, and it ended up becoming the on and off ramp for all innovation between Saudi Arabia and the United States. So I've been doing this my whole career in a variety of different environments. I've worked with over 1,000 startups. And then I stumbled into that article, and that got me in here. And so we've been writing the plan since, September.
Yep.
Yeah, started with September. We've done marketing research. I've learned a ton about the different counties. We've put that, you'll see that plan. It's in the final review now. But we went through and looked at the counties. We looked at the needs of Amador. And this is a very novel approach. I worked with the USC kids, and what I'll say about them is, they had a homework assignment. They had a competition. They had a focus. But they did a great job of reading the draft plan we gave them, asking questions, and then actually turning that into a logical discussion. I think they did a great job in that presentation. There's a lot of details. We do have a go, no go. And we do have the things that you asked early on. We do have those in that plan. So anyway, that's just my background. He's going to run through that. So I'm excited to do this.
Yeah.
Step out, do it outside.
Yeah. So we'll bring Gary back for the Q&A, and Dalton and Marilyn are still online listening as well. So, the first thing is it's really easy not to do anything, right? And that has a cost to it. So, and you look at our area and our city, I said economic development's been anemic for 20 years. And we have a great downtown, a historic downtown. Those businesses don't employ very many people. They don't pay that well. And so we called it the silver economy trap. We're heavily relying on retirees, government jobs, and tourism. And you guys know, really a lot of businesses are closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Brain drain. So our best and brightest go away to college and don't come back. And, what can we offer to kind of keep our youth here, helping develop the area? And, there's desire to keep the quality of life we have here, but you have retirees like Gary who are moving in and buying houses and pushing the housing prices up. So, it's a reason you need kind of sustainable jobs. And really, our economy is also somewhat fragile. It's something I think we need to be aware of as well. And that, like it says here, if we have a really bad fire and there's smoke here, all of our tourism business goes away for a month. So, I think the point I wanted to make here is, kind of doing nothing is kind of a slow decline. And if we really want to reverse it, we have to take some deliberate steps. And this is just kind of a way of viewing that. So 25% of the jobs in Amador County are government and corrections, 30% are healthcare, 30% are tourism, at least 15% of the jobs in any other area. And then our neighbors, the counties and cities around us, are not sitting still. And, there was much more of it in the staff report. Just even looking 200 miles is not that far, but 200 miles gets you to Silicon Valley, gets you to Nevada. It gets you to a lot of cities, some of them very close to us. I mean, Rancho Cordova was kind of junkyards for Sacramento, and they have a economic strategy of developing robotics and AI in Rancho Cordova, and they're being pretty successful at it. And so, Gary's been great. He's been going to a lot of events, networking with these different organizations around us. And we started to see patterns of kind of how they were doing it. They tend to be regional. They tend to really look at what they have in terms of infrastructure. And, I started off thinking very broadly that the role of government should not be to pick an industry. We should just maybe try to help small business owners. But as we've gotten into it more and more, we see having some focus can really help us stand out. And And then the other part in there was, we're not recommending that we become fulsome and we just develop, thousands and thousands of homes and, but really with a thoughtful strategy, we could attract some high paying jobs and really have kind of sensible growth that helps the area. So I don't know, Gary, if you want to come back up, maybe talk to the slide, but this is a good example. This was an event last week, I think.
We have a spot.
What's that?
Yeah, maybe we could scoot down and you could sit over there. So we have.
Oh yeah, some of these are little eye charts. Yeah, if you want to, why don't you go ahead and but go ahead.
Bring out the binos. Okay, so listen to a little bit of what USC said and so forth, and they talked about a variety of things, and we're looking at lining up several layers. There's no one thing because of rural being rural. There's not a lot of people, so you don't have one bullet that says, "Hey, if we just do this, boom, everything will be good." But we need to tie in a variety of things, and so I want to simplify a couple things, and then I want to tie into this. So there's you have the startup model. That's when you were talking about, studying Siskiyou and all that. Well, there's a startup model. We know what that is. We know how that works. We know what the logical ways to do that. So there's the model. It's more a process and an approach. You have a model of how to go through the process, and you have investors that give you money, not banks, not loans. You have investors that want 5, 10 times what you gave them. Okay, so that's a process. The second side of that is the infrastructure, the ecosystem. You heard them say that. So think of that as a wagon wheel. In the center of that ecosystem is the ECS. It's a physical location that's the hub of everything where everybody goes and starts there. Outside of that, on the wagon wheel, you've got investors, you've got advisors, you've got the local services, service providers, you've got corporate, you've got universities, you've got government. Did I miss anything there? But anyway, I think that's most of them anyway. But if all that's working together, you've got the epitome of an ecosystem. So that's what the ecosystem is. You start within the ESC, and then that will connect everything to the parts that make it happen. The second part of that is bringing in this circular economy. And what that is, instead of doing things, making things, and doing stuff and then throwing it away, it circles back around. So I went to this event last week, which was at the Venture Lab, at Roseville Venture Lab. It was sponsored by SAC. We're partnered with SAC now through the ESC, working with them and so forth. And they've got a great Carlson Center of Innovation. But it was mainly for Western Placerville, which has now changed their name. They're now...
This is the Placerville wastewater.
Yeah, Placerville
wastewater, basically. Look what to do with their wastewater sludge.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, well, they've got that. They've got dump stuff. They're doing, they just spend a bunch of money up there, I guess. So we're going to set up a meeting and go up there and take a look at their facility. But they're doing a lot of things. All the companies, they got 200 companies sent them submittals to their contest for $20K. They selected a handful. I think they selected 12. And anyway, there's a trend there. They all want to put stuff at Placerville and test it and do it. One of the companies that came out of there was takes forest and wood and waste and so forth and turns it into clean hydrogen that you can dispense on the spot. It doesn't have to go through any processing. Those are the kind of things in this economy where we want to be able to grow technology that supports that, technology that supports infrastructure, technology that supports cattle, technology that supports ag, and look at those and help those companies grow up, then use these the local community to be early adopters and test that out and say, hey, that's a great idea. If you could fix this, we'd buy that all day. Then they come back, they fix it, then they build the prototype, the MVP, they give it that rancher, they give it to they put it out in the logs and they go do their things with it, if that's the case there. Everybody tests it out, they move along. And what if that generated a check for everybody that got involved as an early adopter? A dividend check from that startup, which now might be making millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on the products that they developed here, plus they get the technology. So that's what we did here. I went and listened to 12 companies pitched. They had a couple companies that could potentially be candidates for what we're doing. We're not ready to bring a company in and be a candidate for them yet, but that's the idea here where we can take What we have local and resources and various other things, bring technology into them, make them early adopters, make them more successful without adding any more people. And the startup jobs that you discussed, the startup jobs are also small. They don't hire big, they hire 5, 10, 20, but they can generate millions of dollars and they can absolutely change things in the world. So it's an environment that allows us to have control of the growth, bring in something like one of the levels of this and keep it in control and keep it in charge. Stay in charge, what I should say.
Cool. Thanks, Gary. So again, we've kind of talked about it. So the vision is starting off with what we're calling the Entrepreneur Center of the Sierras. Again, a regional hub for innovation. It's a place for creation, testing, and launching of ideas. We're talking about startups, but it could also be leveraged by existing businesses. It really would be a resource for anybody. Anybody had, even a retail store and they just wanted help, these resources would be available. Again, as we looked at it, we looked at what other people are doing, it is a numbers game. And so while we're saying we think we could base this in Sutter Creek, it would really need to be probably multi-county wide. And we need to reach out to the counties around us, particularly as you go in the Sierras. And again, we've kind of been talking about, but to really define it, we really want to focus on this idea of the circular economy. And what that is, it's really a way of reusing byproducts. And I went to the Heritage Vintner board meeting the other day just to tell them we're working on this. And so, what do you do with vineyard waste products? We've talked about forestry waste, cattle waste. We're talking about our new wastewater plant. We pay a lot of money to haul our sludge away. And there are companies that are working on products that would take that and turn it into fertilizer, turn it into something useful. So that's what the circular economy is. And we think it's a good focus for this area. Again, we're not talking about a massive factory that has 500 people working in it. And we think it could coexist with our historic downtown and the things that are attractive here. And it would also solve that tourism issue of, having industry that's open, all week long. So how do we do it? We looked at different options. We talked to different people, and we found this company called Generator. We've talked to them multiple times. They are across the country, and if you can't see the little yellow dots on that map, but they're one of the largest venture capital companies, and they are mostly focused in the Midwest and Middle America. They are not a traditional coastal VC. They're the top 10 most active accelerator investor in the world. Top 3 outside of major US markets. So they specialize in kind of rural areas. Number 1 most active investor in the Midwest. So, and there's articles out there, the biggest VC you've never heard of. It's these guys. And so, we think that partnering with somebody like this rather than trying to build something ourselves, and we have talked to some cities that have done this themselves kind of in-house, but we don't think we can compete and do the kinds of things that these guys would bring to the table. And so you'll see and kind of hear this strategy laid out, which would be a multi-year kind of pilot, leveraging the resources they bring, leveraging their network. At the beginning, they would have somebody here essentially part-time, be an employee of their company. And later phases, that person would be living here, running the system. And we would leverage, again, the ideas. We have the historic grammar school, a nice facility that is very underused. So trying to leverage some of the resources we have. And just a little bit more about Generator. They've funded $2.9 billion. They have 6,000 active investors in their network, 6,400 mentors. created 14,000 jobs. And so they're running an accelerator in Modesto for, I think there's a slide I added about Beam Circular. But again, it's not about people just in the local area starting the company. They have people from Europe who are pitching a company that are going to use Modesto customers. And they're using, the farmers in that region as early customers. So, I think that's another kind of aha moment for me was, attracting people to come here and use it. They don't necessarily have to be here up front. And so it's kind of a, high level timeline, and actually with some estimations on costs. And Gary and I also worked on a financial model. So we're in this discovery design phase. We've been trying to validate some things. We've been holding these monthly meetups. We've been going to other people's events. And we had this small initial grant that we're using to help do that. If we go with Generator, they have these things. They would start with what they call their G Alpha program. Again, we would come with employees and support and marketing, and basically they would run everything. It's not cheap. It's only $230,000. And then if that's successful, then we'd sign kind of a multi-year agreement. The person would be here full time.
That's the 1-year pilot
is
is 230.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's also your no decision.
Exactly. I got
At the end of that pilot, we'll know whether we can do it, and if we don't, how to do it, or just, hey, it was a fun ride, but this is not going to work in Earl. But I don't believe in failure.
Yeah.
We'll have a plan.
Yeah. The other thing, and again, not to jump ahead, but they will work with us and help us to work on grant applications. And again, the idea would be this would be grant funded.
Right.
So again, I think we're at the point where we'd like to validate it and see if we could get some funding, with the understanding that this is kind of a longer term strategy. It's not something that's going to happen immediately. And we have to be willing to kind of go along for the ride and really give it a shot. We're sort of look at specific grants, and we've scheduled a meeting kind of based on the outcome of this discussion tonight to really see if Generator would be interested in working with us to submit grant applications. And I think they do that a lot, where they basically find the funds to hire themselves.
Oh,
so,
okay.
And then again, looking at other cities, I think the exit strategy is also important. So if this is successful, it doesn't necessarily have to stay within the city. And I think a successful exit would be that it would become its own nonprofit, it'd become a regional nonprofit, kind of spin out of the city and be self-sustaining. And so an example of that is this Beam Circular, which is in the Valley. It started from some community efforts like we're talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of wrote a economic development plan, and it was Stanislaus County. They got some seed funding. And then they started to partner with people, and they had UC Merced and National Science Foundation grant, and they formed this collaborative, and there's like 100 companies and agencies that are part of that now. And they kind of kept growing. They hired an executive director. They've gotten over $40 million in financing. So they're like probably a premier organization at this point. And they actually work with Generator to run their accelerator. That's just one of the programs they have now. And then they spun out, and they are now an independent nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, with a staff of 10 or 15 people just running Beam Circular.
And in the spin out thing, however that manifests in whatever type of business or whatever, is the notion that a piece of that would come back to
Not necessarily.
Sutter Creek, or is it just?
No, they measure metrics like number of jobs created.
Yeah.
Number of successful companies. They don't necessarily own stock in those companies. It's not really the idea with a lot of these.
Generating economic
Uh-huh.
activity.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, being a nonprofit also lets them receive philanthropic money, and it's not they're not becoming a for-profit venture firm of their own, basically.
I can toss a little in there. One of the areas that could also be interesting would be for other startups and organizations around the world to come to Sutter Creek and do what they call an immersive experience, where they come and they stay here for a week, book up 10-year hotels, fill up your restaurants every night, and then they'll bounce around here and go to Sacramento, which is becoming it's got a pretty impressive innovation center. It's still pretty young, but it looks really good from the street view. So they'll come over there. We could take them to Aggie Square, which is a 1 million square foot incubator, which is what the ESC is, but it won't be 1 million square feet. But anyway, so they could come here, and I've already had several folks, so we could potentially do as many as maybe 5 of those a year. So that's 5 weeks out of the year where you could sort of do a quick math and say, oh, okay, we could make that work. But anyway, that's just another area that could come from this as a side. There's multiple bullets that go along in ways that this could transpire.
So we're talking about the long-term sustainability and nonprofit spin-out, talking about a 3-year, is that kind of at the end of the 3-year, the go, no go?
No, the go, no go is at the end of the pilot. At the end of
Okay.
the pilot, which be over, we could potentially start it this fall if we had the funding for it, but if not, we have it slotted to kick off early next year. And then that would be about a 3-month period. And then we'd have a choice whether at that point, whether it's just totally dead on the vine or whether there is some life here. And then we'll continue to tweak our model a little bit, experiment on the other parts that we don't have answers for.
Right.
But right now it's slotted to go all the way out through the end of 2029. But at that point in time, we're also engaged with all the counties and sort of working with one singular element, because it may be there's only a development center in Sutter Creek and then one down in South California, and that's all the rurals can afford. They can't all have their own economic development city. It makes no sense. And the cities that have tried it, that's how I got in the business. Fixing the things they came to the Silicon Valley and said, oh, I know how to do this. We just go back and build an incubator and all life will be good. But there's a lot that goes along with it that I've learned over the years that that go along with that. But it's a really novel environment because you can really control things such as growth, and it's not working for the hour. So it's not $1 for $1 hour. It multiplies itself because most of it is done somehow through the internet. So it can bring huge amounts of money like Beam, Circular, 40 million in funding, 15 people. That's a nice little drop in a town the size of Sutter Creek.
Yeah, so it's really the end of the presentation. So really just wanted to get your feedback, see if you were excited about this or if we should stop working on it. If you guys give the go-ahead, we'd like to do a non-binding MOU with Generator to see if we can work on some grants together. And then separately, there's this thing around the 250th anniversary of the country. It's called America the Entrepreneurial. It's really just to state that we're interested in entrepreneurship as a city. There's nothing binding about it, but this person we're working with at Sacramento State is involved, and I've sent some stuff to Claire a while ago, but we'd also just like to know if you'd want us to participate in that and get a little bit of buzz around Sutter Creek. So
you get to officially become a founder in the organization, as they say. Some of the early adopters.
Right.
So I have a question with the grants, and it kind of just hit a nerve, the USDA grant, which we had in the past, the loan.
Oh, right.
Is that going to affect our relationship or application with USDA again?
no, so that's a loan. We still have a loan that was used to fix some of the wastewater collection system.
Yes.
Yeah, this would be a grant. So they have rural development grants specifically around innovation.
Okay.
Actually, it just opened up this week for this year.
So Tom, if we feel excited about it and want to say, yes, move forward, what is the immediate risk of that decision? Is there any immediate
I don't
risk?
think so. I'm not suggesting we you spend general fund dollars.
Yeah,
Spending brain cycles and time, which is
Exactly.
limited as well.
working with them to see if they can generate some of the cash to help pay for that 230 for the first year kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we put our heads back together again and say, where are we on that? And we make decisions about,
Yeah,
are we willing
and-
to spend any of our money? They came up with this, we did it,
Right.
whatever.
And it was, we didn't really say it, but it's kind of implied. I kind of see us seeding this.
Uh-huh.
And then if we do land a grant, we start doing things, then I think we go talk to counties, county supervisors, and they all have to pitch in too, right? So years 2 and 3 is not just Sutter Creek kind of financing this thing.
Right, right.
7 other counties out there that we're working to, we want to be working together.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I'm excited.
This is really exciting. It's definitely outside Sutter Creek's, thinking outside Sutter Creek's box. And I wouldn't want to do anything to try to quell your enthusiasm and really appreciate it.
I feel the same way.
Absolutely.
I also feel I'm excited and it's proactive, and that's what we determined that we need to be with our development, economic development. And I'm excited through the process to see myself too. I'm sitting here with this lingering in the back of my head pessimism from being here most of my life about and raising my children here now. And, we look at the brain drain of all the things that we don't have. And mind you, I love this place. I'm raising my children here on purpose. But, I know what we're lacking. And I guess I always thought that's why we didn't have these things, this innovation and these investments. And I think even if we just go to this next stop, going through the exercises will bring up the benefits.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Absolutely.
and put those. in
Something will
minds
happen.
and-
Yeah.
And in other people's minds. And I just see positive out of it.
Yeah.
It's like a
So
breath
that's-
of fresh air. Like there's some
I don't-
hope. There's a plan.
No, just wanted to,
Do you want a motion for a non-binding?
To move forward?
MOU?
Can I say something?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Well, I have to articulate that happiness. I think it's amazing. I'm so thankful for this. It's so inspiring. And thank you for acknowledging the brain drain, because my kids are in urban centers and they're like, we're never coming back. And I hope that they may, but this would maybe give them an opportunity to do that. And I appreciate what you're saying about growth and how many people this would take, and that's amazing as well. But I just wanted to address on the one sheet, and I'll read it again more carefully, but with regard to Roseville being a standout, I think Roseville's amazing. And I love to go there, but I don't love the traffic there. And you were saying, to control the growth or grow mindfully, I guess would be a better way to put it. But I want in the forefront of that, it's a little bit tangential, but that for me is really dear because I grew up in Los Angeles and I know how quickly I see Folsom and Roseville growing in that direction. And then I see Los Angeles and what a mess it is. So we've been protected from that kind of massive growth by being on 16 and not a thoroughfare. And I want, as a council member, I've always wanted to lean into that and protect the land here and that keep it in ag. And I think this is a perfect way to do that. And then I just want to throw in one more word about Sutter Creek that I think is so perfect is the walkability. And if in its growth, we could maintain that, I think we would have an offering in California for generations to come. Because it's just so great not to have to get in your vehicle. So I look forward to seeing how this evolves.
yeah, so I don't think we necessarily need a motion, just, and I just wanted to get a read of where you guys are on this. So.
Nice to meet you, Gary.
Thanks for coming.
Great to be here.
Your enthusiasm is
Bay Area, I'm here to have it turn into the Bay Area.
Good.
Cool. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, mayor and council member reports. Susan?
No. Jim?
No.
Me? super brief, the possible entrepreneur center. The Benefit Foundation just spent some more money on it and redid that wall, the wall that faces Gopher Flat, some really old repairs that needed to be done.
Fix some windows.
Fixed some windows, did
Nice.
some mortar work, and
Nice.
it was kind of cool. We him and Ha around there for years on end about how to approach some of these projects. And then we hooked up with this Alex Armstrong guy that I think you've met. I think you talked to him about the Monteverdi store, and he just gets it done, man, and
does.
quickly and on budget. So success there. Cool.
Great.
Julia?
No, we have a air quality board meeting this week, but I don't think anything big. So
Dan?
Just briefly to flesh out the Amador County road improvement kind of pilots that are going on. This was the Amador County Transportation Commission spending some money to buy some of that equipment, finding a fellow who's doing some training with the local team for the county. And, there's a lot of things to be worked out, but they're getting out there doing a few roads to see, is it making sense? The first one, it's too soon to tell, but a lot less expensive than hiring somebody to come in and do it. And still a lot of issues that we're going to have to solve over the next months, years, as we kind of, if it grows into what we hope it might, where everybody has access to it and the funds are being spent appropriately and all the, all the hoops are, we're doing the right thing. It's moving pretty quickly right now. It's, some of us are a little nervous, but
so
Well-
that saves some outsourcing.
absolutely. I mean, the difference between $900,000 a mile versus, 240, that kind of thing. So
Are there limits of how much we
There-
could do?
there's all kinds of limits, and frankly, I'm not sure that all of that is quite yet known. So
And it seems like one of those things that if it's so great, everyone would already be
of
doing it.
course,
Yeah.
of course. So a little bit seat of your pants kind of thing, but the people from ACTC are excited because they're getting something done, and I just
Cool.
fingers are crossed that it's going to work out okay.
Derek, City Attorney's report? Information correspondence? Anybody have any questions or comments? No closed session. We're adjourned.
But you can't see it
Thanks.
go up.